The Business Simplicity Podcast, where leaders share their most successful strategies and the failures that inspired them, so business owners and managers can avoid the suffering and reap the benefits. With your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back. This is Chris Parker with the Business Simplicity Podcast, and I'm having a discussion with actually a colleague, Mathis André, who's from Belgium, and he is the founder of a delightful company called Faqbot, and Faqbot was acquired by Dstny. Both Mathis and I work with Dstny, but this is not a Dstny program, so it's not sponsored or influenced. But what Mathis is working on, I think, is actually quite brilliant. So thank you very much, Mathis, for accepting the invitation to jump on the Business Simplicity Podcast. Can you kick us off with a little bit about yourself? Mathis, what is it that you do?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chris. So about me, so I'm Mathis, living in Belgium. I started entrepreneurship at 16 years old and set up first business when I was 16, like an agency. And then I created a chatbot company named Faqbot with an idea because my background initially was a tech enthusiast, really love technologies since I'm young. And I had an idea to build a platform to make chatbot more simple, and from a FAQ page that I will explain just after. So I really love the product by himself, and really product guy, and passionate about solving problem and create solution based on this.
How did you get there? Maybe this is something I didn't, because is there a backstory to having stumbled into the chatbot space? Like, did something lead you there?
Yeah. It's a good question. When I was like 16 years old, I was building website and apps, and I got few customer, and I first created, I was in fact becoming like, it was boring to create website and apps for me at a certain point, because it was always the same. And I heard about chatbot technologies, and I investigated in the different platform who just existing, were on the market. I saw a few solutions in TechCrunch and things like this. So I tried it. And I started to build a chatbot with this platform, and I wasn't really happy with the results. And I first contacted few organizations to create like MVP, and I built the first one for a company in Belgium who lists restaurants in website, a portal, and they had a booking system that they acquired, and this booking system was for restaurants. And we created a proof of concept. So I said, okay, I would love to create a proof of concept of chatbot, using chatbot to make reservation easier on Facebook. And because it was on Facebook Messenger, they had a lot of users on Facebook Messenger, and so people could ask question. I want to book table tonight, and the chatbot was checking the words like, okay, tonight reservation, and they were asking, okay, how many people are coming, and also this is how I came into the chatbot world, which was really different of Faqbot. But it's with this first experience, I said, okay, maybe I should create my own platform, because with the existing platform, it was complex to build the chatbot. You integrate, you have to do some custom work. It was not really clear, and I said I want to create something more simple, and I have identified few needs on the customer support, and I spoke with a guy from a big company who gave me his feedback and said it was a popular website builder And he told me, well, we have indeed a need for chatbot if we can answer to the question. And then I have focus and check. And so, okay, maybe FAQ is a good entry point. Even if we don't work only with FAQ, we can use this as a way to enter in the chatbot for the companies, because most of websites have an FAQ. No one is reading the FAQ. Why not to use it? And because sometimes the content is good, but no one is going to the website, because today but it's good and bad. But today we have information really fast, I think. Like you send a message to someone, you don't want to take time to read a lot of things, and that's why use the content which is static, but put it conversational. You ask a question, boom, you get an answer. Was good, I think, and that's how I came into this.
Wait, I'm just thinking in my mind, maybe people who aren't in our space, they might not have any idea what a chatbot is.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe in the simplest way possible what is a chatbot, and maybe where they've seen it or where they could see it?
Yeah, but there are a few ways to explain it. Very simple. Just imagine that you are speaking with your friend on Messenger. Your friend is a human, but imagine now you are speaking with someone, but it's not a human. It's a robot who reply you. So to make it simple, you go to a website or on Facebook, any channels possible. You ask a question. You think you are speaking with a human, but you get an answer from a robot, a virtual assistant, we can call it. And this is a chatbot. And basically it's not to replace human, but it's to automate the question or recurring, automate processes, because it's not only to reply to question. Chatbot can help you to I don't know, to do a reservation on the website. It can guide you into conversation and ask you question, and you think it's a human which is asking you a question, but no, it's really a virtual assistant, and it guides you. And it's a way to automate things and to get fast answer.
Yeah. So if anyone has been to a website and there's this little pop-up on the bottom right that says, "Hey, do you have a question?" You know, that's oftentimes a machine behind it.
And not a human.
Sometimes it could be human, but very rarely. Oftentimes, if the interaction with the machine, the AI chatbot, doesn't know the answer, then you can get handed over to a human sometimes, depending on the company. And yeah, I think more and more, people are looking to have that information, that conclusion to their need really, really quickly on someone's website, or even in their mobile app, or any digital interface that people could be working with. So the chatbots are not unique, or I guess I was about to say they're not even special, but because there's a lot of special things out there. But FAQbot has a, which I think is actually quite brilliant, a approach to starting with the knowledge that's already in existence within a company that typically customers want, and those can be formed as FAQs, so frequently asked questions. And I think this really simplifies the starting of a journey into what we call conversational AI chatbot. Can you share, I guess, the vision behind beginning with the FAQ and how you get that into the chatbot, and how easy can that be?
Yes. So we took the process by our experience working with customer. We saw we wanted to build something easy, with an easy way to start. So that's why we say, okay, start with the content of frequently asked question, because you maybe have this and in the most of case. And so what we do is that any company or organization can start, create an account, and personalize his chatbot. So name, logo, color. In a few minutes, they see it visually. So they just type, they saw the chatbot building immediately. And then we ask them, okay, we want to learn that the chatbot learn data. And so do you have an FAQ page? They say, okay, I have an FAQ page. You put your URL with question and answer, and we are able to detect question, answer on the page. And based on this, the chatbot is learning the data, and you can start. And then you select the channels where you want to install it. So Facebook, by example, can be installed in one click. You connect to select your Facebook page. On a website is the same way that install a solution, a copy-paste scripts directly. And so the process takes a few minutes in the interface to build the bot. And we do the training also. So the chatbot, when you ask a question differently, imagine you say, okay, I don't know, what is the cost of the solution Faqbot, and then I'm saying what is the pricing plan of Faqbot. We have the same question, we ask it differently, and so when a customer uploads his FAQ, we don't have to train this because we do it in background with our technology, and so it's also a process which is simple because in fact it's only in 3 steps. You add your information in the chatbot, you upload your content, and you install it. So it's taking a few minutes, and you can start, and then you can put it in front of your customer, and you can see your chatbot interact. So that's the way it works.
And what a beautifully simplified way of starting this, because if you just installed a chatbot and there was no information or knowledge in there, then it'd be a very stupid chatbot, not even able to chat probably. But this is sort of the beginning of the journey. So once a company, creates their identity or their personality, their chatbot, they can give it a name and then give it some knowledge, from the FAQ. What does the typical journey from there look like, over the next 2 years? Because they would have to refine it, and then probably the FAQs were written in a mistaken way, or their processes change. How do people, or what's the easiest way for people to maintain and enrich the chatbot experience?
Yeah, so that's a good question also, because after that the chatbot has a minimum knowledge base which has been imported and it's speaking, starting interact with the customer, we often see that it's not true for all customers, but in general, in 3-4 months, they have their fixed content. Why? Because they see interaction with people, and often it's the same question or repeating. In fact, it's always the same which are coming. And based on this, they start really to build the real database with real customer interaction. So that means maybe they start and upload, I don't know, their FAQ page with 30 questions. And after a few months, they receive new question. So they can reply to this like chat. They can answer this question, and it will enrich the database. And maybe after 3-4 months, it will grow from 30 to 50 questions, but not more, because they will cover all the subject, in fact. And they build often their definitive database, which can be changed and easy after to change in the interface. But they start to have really content which is true, based on the customer feedback, and not just in static FAQ. In fact, it's the public who have built it. And this is what is also really cool, because it's a tool which is easy to enrich, and it's quite fast, because after you receive new question, but your content cover all.
What's your advice for people? Because I imagine there's a decision point on when you get a couple questions in, what colors, whatever is this cup? I'm just making stuff up now. And it takes some time and some thinking in order to embed that within the knowledge base of the chatbot, or just leave it and say, actually, we're not going to automate that. We're not going to include that in the knowledge of the chatbot, and that should be handed off to a human, or just not answered. Where would you decide on which way to go with that?
Yeah, I think it's often a question of the fact that they see the question which repeats 3 times, by example. I think, okay, this is a good decision to take this question and it's
Yeah.
relevant for their organization. If they see, I don't know, imagine in the Dstny context, hello, do you have Dstny t-shirt? It's maybe not a question that everyone will ask every day. But if they ask the price of a product, it's a question they ask every day. And so they will see a question who are coming like 2-3 times. And this is how they decide mostly on the way to enrich it and not to add anything which is not relevant to the database.
Or decide to do that if it's branded and fun, have some Easter eggs. So those people who know they can, do you have Dstny t-shirts, and just have a hidden landing page somewhere, say, well, yes, we do. And since you asked that question, no, that reminds me of a little story. I was working with on a customer experience and data project with a hotel company. And when we were looking at their loyalty program, they realized that some of their customers had figured out how to get, I think, like 3 discounts at the same time. Somehow they were figuring out somehow they were gaming the system. And in that meeting, there was a bunch of us around the table spending time on how to stop this. And I sort of raised my hand and said, well, why not just let them do this? Because if they're so passionately involved in your brand and they've studied you so much, they're connected to you, and they have found a way to get an extra 10%, just let them have it, and maybe put a candy bar, on their desk in their room of saying, hey, you cracked the code. Good job. We love you for loving us, or something. I know, total side comment. So if, where can someone find in your case, the best example of a chatbot? So like if we sent someone to a web page now that had something, there's a bunch of customers listed, and people can go to FAQbot.com. You can see it there, and there's a bunch of companies listed there. But where would you recommend people go just to experience a chatbot in a healthy way?
Well, we have in different places, like you said, on a FAQbot site, but like on Dstny.com website, there is on the FAQbot page, they can play with it. But we have customer like energy provider in Ireland, which is an interesting use case, which is pinergy.ie. They can easily play with the chatbot, and I like this use case because the chatbot drive user into conversation and try to guide them to propose their services. So like a lead generation chatbot, but also reply to question. And this is a good use case. After we have Decathlon, maybe, Decathlon sport shop retailer, decathlon.at, like Austria, or CZ, Czech Republic. They can go in the contact page or customer support, both websites, and they can play with the chatbot also, because it's one of them has an English version, so they can play with it easily.
I just asked pinergy.ie, pinergy.ie. Do you have a t-shirt?
He's not replying, I think.
No. How embarrassing. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to your question. Can you try asking it in another way, or can I transfer you to one of my human colleagues?
Yeah.
Would you like to contact you back? I'll say no, because that will just be weird.
What is interesting also is that on a Pinergy way is that they combine the reply to question, so the support, reduce the support volume, but also lead generation. So they try to get people and try to sell their services. And I think it's a good use case to combine both, because I think it's complementary, and they do it. On a Decathlon side, for example, it's pure support. So it's only to reply to question like online order, the time to delivery a product and things like this. So, and I think both are interesting to check here. So for Decathlon, it's decathlon.at, Austria, and decathlon.cz. And they can find the chatbot on customer support page or contact page on both websites.
Yeah, I'm looking at the AT, and of course that's all in German. That's fine. I think that so CZ for the Czech Republic or AT for Austria. Decathlon is in Europe a huge sporting goods retailer. And Pinergy.ie, it's fun to play with it. So love it. So why would I was about to say B2C, but why would a company that had a web presence that needed to interact with people and have regular questions answered, why would they not have a chatbot? I guess what would be the downside of this, or when would someone say, nah?
I think no, they don't have any reason to say no. But the thing is that when you have volume of question you receive, you have to ask yourself the question, why not I go to a chatbot? In fact, because finally it's I changed the context here, but it's more at a certain point. I think when you have a lot volume coming on your website, you have to ask you the question, because finally, why to not use it? You don't need a lot of time. You don't need a lot of content, and it's only can help you. So I think it's just also because people from the beginning of chatbot had maybe bad experience with complex platform and all, and that's why our mission was to create an easy way to do it, because people think a lot about, it's complex, but it's not. It's super easy. They think that they need to add the content and train the chatbot. They think that it needs to take time to learn and all. But this is not true. And I think it should not block people to do it, because finally it's easy. You just start with the content. You put in your website, and that's all. And you can test. I think when you have volume, you have to ask you the question, I should install chatbot to reduce the volume, or maybe I got a lot of questions. Maybe these people I can get as a leads, not necessary to reply to the question. Both can work. So
I guess it is a volume thing. So if it's really a startup or an established business that doesn't have the volume, or maybe has a lower volume and chooses to have a human interaction, because it's part of their brand or part of their service design, you could. But certainly at a certain point of volume with obviously repetitive questions, well, one thing you should think about is, why are people asking these questions? Because why is it hard to find this information? But there's always going to be questions. People are always going to be, interacting and coming up with questions and be confused because they misread something. And looking at your website, it looks like €499 a month as the standard package, and then it goes to enterprise from there. So I guess it's all, is that correct? About 500 a month for us to get started with this?
Yeah, we are changing the pricing to make it more accessible to different organizations.
Oh, okay. So maybe some new pricing is coming soon, but what's published now is the $499 a month, and there's a little project, I guess, to get started. So outstanding. I would love it if someone listening to this got in touch with Mathis and tried this and then let me know and came on and actually talked about the experience. It's like okay, what was the problem you're trying to solve? How, why did you think chatbot was a potential solution for you? How did you go through it? And then also, what metrics and value did you see? Because ideally you'd be watching the analytics to see how many questions of certain type you're going to be getting, and then also in a way your customer satisfaction should go up, and your human cost to answer those questions should go down. That's kind of why you're doing this.
Yeah, and we have really detailed analytics also in the solution, so we can easily, with the question that people ask, see, okay, what kind of question ask people. So this is something we can see. Number of time people ask which question. We have return on investment calculator. We have usage per country. we have many things that are really interesting to see if your chatbot is working fine or not, and how to optimize it. Conversion rate in your guided conversation flow. So this is more complex, but to explain. But basically, when you start a conversation, you can see the people who continue the conversation or who say, okay, I leave the chatbot, and you see this kind of data. So you can see, okay, in fact, that's stuck or that's working fine, and easily on the interface.
Great. Well, maybe this episode of the Business Simplicity podcast turned into a little bit more promotional commercial than I intended, but I just love what you're doing. And I'm delighted, Mathis, with your energy, because this is kind of one of the magical things about Dstny is there's entrepreneurs like you that have joined, been acquired into the group, and this kind of passion and energy is flying around. It's just great to interact with you whenever I do. So I think let's wrap up. And on the show notes, so wherever you're listening to this, you can go back to the podcast page, and there we'll put a link to Mathis's LinkedIn profile if you want to find him there. Also, I'll put the link to FAQbot.com, and as well as I'll put pinergy.ie in case anyone wants to go and play with that and ask them if there's t-shirts. So maybe if we ask, if 10 of us ask, do you have t-shirts? Maybe they'll add that as an answer, and then the answer should come up and say no, and watch this podcast video or listen to this podcast about Mathis, and you'll understand why we have no t-shirts. So it's I love it. So perfect. Mathis, thank you so much for joining. This was great.
Yeah, thank you for your invite. It was cool.
Thank you for listening. Download the Simplicity Toolkit from Ebullient.com to discover the power of the Simplicity Scan and Sprint. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player.